Okay, welcome. I want to let you know this video is 7 years old. This video with a police report from Charlie Waters was grounds to kick me out of the HOA. I've been kicked out of the HOA for over 7 years. I was never given a hearing. The day before this policeman came to my house, I went to a meeting and I sat through the entire meeting. Charlie Waters didn't like it because they couldn't go into executive session. Up to that point, tribal knowledge out here, anybody that went to one of these small get-togethers, board meetings, at halftime when they took a break, nobody came back. It wasn't in any rule. There was no written rule that you couldn't come back, but that was tribal knowledge. And I hadn't been to a meeting in a long time. This policeman, I consider, if you watch this program, I'll probably talk at the end. I might interrupt as it goes on. But my civil rights got trampled by the Buckeye Police Department that day. What you're watching now is the only video recording and statement that was taken during that Charlie Waters investigation. Back home when I was a kid in college back in the 70s, we had a term, called dropping a dime on somebody. If you didn't like them and they were doing something wrong, illicit, you dropped a dime on them. Charlie Waters was able to drop a dime on me and fill the policeman's head up with all this nonsense. And I want to tell you, this policeman in his report wrote down that I wasn't understanding the seriousness of what was taking place that day. He had no paperwork. His officer that assigned him to come over and talk to me didn't assign him to go see Charlie Waters. Charlie Waters, when he dropped the dime on me and gave this line of lies, dishonesty, false witness to the police, he told the police in a statement that the police had to come and take me out of a meeting. Well, I went to the police. I asked them, "Where's your record of taking me out of a meeting?" They don't have it. They never did. Charlie Waters used it to embellish the story. What gets me is you're going to hear that this young man is from Europe. He doesn't know anything about American civil rights. And the officer that sent him to me should have sent him to Charlie Waters first. I went to get this video so I could see what Charlie Waters had said to the police. I felt that the police should have had to have investigated by going up and taking a statement from him. He got away with no statement. I was responding to ghost. This young European policeman who's on the Buckeye Police Department, I felt was a cadet, a Cub Scout cadet. Him and the officer that assigned him to come out and talk to me. He had no right to come and talk to me without talking to Charlie Waters first. I was trying to respond to some kind of figment of this kid's imagination. All right? He got the story like the third, where you whisper in somebody's ear and then they whisper in somebody's ear. Well, he got the story all wrong. Charlie Waters and I do not see eye and eye. When the decertification letter came for track day, Charlie Waters took a huge amount of money and gave it to Jackie Meck. And then a year later, when I tried to walk on the access easement and they threw me in jail for missing a court date that I had no idea about, never got a summons for a court date. Then, 2 weeks after I was arrested, Charlie Waters went in and gave the town of Buckeye $32,000 for my arrest. Okay? He doesn't want to open up track day. I've been public enemy number one, a gadfly, shit stirrer, carpetbagger, whatever you want to call it. I've been that in this neighborhood now for 20 years. But Charlie Waters, like when I was telling this kid out on the property line, you're going to see this kid was so cocky, aplomb, coming out telling me for sure he knows everything I said to Charlie Waters. He didn't know anything. He never went and interviewed Charlie Waters. Every time I call up the policeman over, I have a dispute with a golfer trespasses onto my property, a golfer breaks my window, every time I call the police, I have to look at a camera and give an audio and video statement to the police before they will do anything. Charlie Waters didn't get an audio or video, and this young man, I should have told him to get off my property. You don't have any paper. You're a policeman that's out of line. You're out of line. Go talk to Charlie Waters first and then tell me verbatim what he said to you. You got secondhand knowledge. I'm so sick of living in Buckeye and dealing with West Valley people. I had my hair cut the other day, and I happened to mention that I didn't like Trump. I thought the lady was going to stab me with the scissors. Okay? I love Trump. I love Trump. You don't understand. I love him. And the whole West Valley, I'd say 95% of Buckeye has this cult mentality. They're goose-stepping. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They don't understand. Let's start the video. I'll show you a little more of white supremacy, white authority, misuse of white policemen. Charlie Waters bought the police. He gave the town of Buckeye about $100,000 in 3 or 4 years. Okay? And now I got to deal with this Cub Scout cadet walking up to my door with no factual knowledge other than hearsay and harassing me. And then when he writes his report, he makes me sound like an idiot, like I don't have the understanding to know how serious it was. How serious was it?
Is Stewart around?
Yeah, have you got a complaint on me?
I did.
For what?
There's a gentleman that says that you're harassing him.
Who?
Mr. Charles Waters. He says that you're
Yeah, he's
You're
Jackie
constantly-
Meck's buddy. He's Jackie Meck's buddy. You've got the camera running on me now, right?
Hmm?
Okay, we're on camera? All right, are you taking me in? Are you
I'm
here
just
to
trying
arrest me?
Listen. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. That's all I'm
Okay,
here for.
Charlie Waters is a board member.
Okay.
He is Jackie Meck's best friend
Okay.
on the board.
Okay.
Charlie Waters has given Jackie Meck's favorite charity over the years probably $100,000 from the golf course because he's the treasurer
Okay.
of the HOA.
Okay.
Him and I disagree a lot on the way the HOA is run.
All right.
All right? This isn't the first time. Every time I go to the HOA, I'm not allowed to talk. He asked what happened yesterday in a meeting. I went to the board meeting, and I'm going to request a video of this too.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Right? He's given me an invitation now to tell my story. And if you stand there as long as you want to stand there and listen.
Well, I'm on until 3 o'clock, so.
Okay, well, here's what happened. I went to a board meeting. I was invited to go to a board meeting.
Okay.
It says this is a board meeting that you can attend and observe.
Okay.
I went. All the board members were there and the manager. Me and another person were the only civilians in the room.
Okay.
Well, there was 2 others, plus the architectural committee. Okay?
Right.
All right. Well, as it was quite a long meeting, it lasted about 3 hours. When they took a break after about an hour and a half, they took a break to go to the bathroom. Well, the other people left. I stayed.
All right.
I was the only civilian in the room, the only member who wasn't a board member. And I listened to them hash out a lot of information. When they broke the meeting up, Charlie Waters invited me, since I had been sitting there. Charlie says, did you have something that you would like to say? The meeting was broke up. The manager was gone and half the board members. So there was only 4 board members in the room and me.
Okay.
All right, I was trying to get a point across to the architectural about an architectural issue I had with my gutters last year.
Okay.
I was trying to clarify when they send me a letter saying that I'm approved for an architectural committee, that I'm approved to do something.
Okay.
That's a legal document. If you send me that letter, it's a legal document. It's a standalone legal document. It's on your paperwork. It says you're approved to put the gutters on because you have applied. I went to the meeting. In the meeting they told me you're approved. A week later I got the letter saying you're approved.
Okay.
Now if you want to step out here and I'll show you what took place during that month and a half. Now, are you still looking at me? Okay, you see this right here?
Mm-hmm.
You see that monkey motion down there, all that piping?
Okay.
All right, there's a manifold at the bottom of that downspout.
Okay.
All right, that manifold is connected to a tube, and I had to dig a hole underneath the sidewalk, and I dug a ditch, and I installed a tube out here because once we got the water out of the gutters, we had to get it to the street.
Okay.
And that's why I went through all this monkey motion. So after I got the letter,
Mm-hmm.
I called up the estimate, and the people installed it. They were amazed that I had approval that fast.
Okay.
They couldn't believe that I got approval that fast.
Okay.
And the reason you're here, I'm going to interrupt here. The reason Charlie Waters has filed this complaint, because I was the only one in the room, and I was listening to everything the board was saying, and I had a right to be there. Charlie Waters, with having you come here and approach me, is trying to set up a record where I'm a problem to the HOA. They're trying to take away my rights.
Okay.
All right, a month and a half after I got the approval letter, one of the architectural people who wasn't in the meeting that day, he was out flying his airplane, his name is Chuck, came by and he saw my gutters and they weren't all the same color.
Okay.
So he made the comment, they all have to be the same color. It's a COA, it's a CCNRs. I said, Chuck, they've already been approved. You weren't at the meeting that day. You were out flying your airplane. That didn't help Chuck because Chuck got all of a sudden he got all pissed about that.
Okay.
Got a little wound up because I told him he was flying his airplane instead of being at a meeting where he should have been. Well, anyway, I was telling Chuck about the planning schedule. When they give me the plans to choose from, I told him, I said, I take this thing of like a couple hundred plants to Moon Valley Nursery, and the first thing the guy asked me is, where'd you get this list?
Mm-hmm.
They're not from here. Whoever made up this list doesn't live here in Arizona. We've only got a few plants to pick from.
Okay.
So you can take this list, whoever made it, and take it back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just discussing that with Chuck. I said, Chuck, I just had to put a bunch of plants in. And I said, whoever made up this list, well, Chuck was sitting there and he kept looking at my gutters, and finally he goes, those aren't the same color. I go, I know. It's already been approved, Chuck. It's a moot point, Chuck. It's already been approved. I've got the letter, I got a legal document that says I can I put him upright. Well, he kept going on and on. He wouldn't listen to me. And finally I said to Chuck, I can't believe this access easement down here is so out of compliance. It doesn't match the plat map. I don't have a civil right to walk there because it doesn't match the plat map, so it's grossly out of compliance. Well, that tripped Chuck's trigger. Chuck, you can't talk to Chuck about the non-compliance of Track Day without having him. You ever see Mars Attack? You ever see that movie Mars Attack?
I have
Mars
not,
Attack, it's a good. You're being attacked by Mars, and the Martians are little green blobs, heads inside of glass things.
Okay.
Well, Chuck, if you mention Chuck, Track Day's non-compliance to Chuck, it's like watching the movie Mars Attack. The only way they could beat the Martians was country music.
Okay.
All right, the Martians had the Earth completely, almost completely annihilated, except they went into a mobile home park where people were playing country music, and every time the Martians hear country music, their head explodes inside the grass. All right?
Okay.
That's the premise of the movie. That's why I tell you this story, because that's what happens to Chuck. Every time I talk to Chuck about Track Day, non-compliance.
Okay.
And now I'm a problem in the neighborhood. I've been a problem for Charlie. I've been a problem for the mayor. I've been a problem for everybody in Buckeye because we happen to live in a parallel universe out here in Buckeye. I have a plat map, and this is for everybody in the city hall, the policemen, and everybody that's watching me now. I have a plat map where I went and got in downtown Phoenix. I went to the county seat where they keep all the documents. I got the plat map, I brought it out here, and it says there's an access easement there. But that plat map has no jurisdiction in Buckeye. When I bring the plat map to in Buckeye and I say there's supposed to be an access easement there, there isn't. So me and Charlie have been going around and around over this for 4 years. All right? So Charlie Waters, they don't want me in any more meetings. I was a disrupted. The fact that I was sitting there listening.
Okay.
And when he invited me to talk, all it was is I'm going to invite you to talk to give you enough rope so that we can kick you out of this meeting. And tomorrow I can go to the police. And that's exactly what
So let me ask you a question first.
I try to explain. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you ever see Mr. Waters outside of these meetings?
Never, because I don't use. All right, I try to tell you. This is for the record. 12 years ago, I closed these houses.
Okay.
I had bought 3 houses. This house you see, turn around and I'll show you. I'll park it. See that house? I owned that house. I owned the house we're sitting in front of. And I own that house. That house is gone. I've got 2 left.
Okay.
So me and Charlie have been going round and round over this access easement for years.
Okay.
For 4 years, and they had to dig it out. I brought an engineer, the town engineer out here, and the town engineer immediately wrote it up.
Okay.
All right? And it never got fixed.
Okay.
I live in a homeowners association, and when they send me a letter and says, oh, you're out of compliance, I got 2 weeks at most a month before I'm going to generate a fine.
Okay.
They got a letter from the chief engineer of Buckeye 4 years ago that said, that's filled up. It's out of compliance. It threatens the houses in the neighborhood. I'm ordering you to dig it out. I'm ordering you as the town engineer, the top end town engineer, I'm ordering you as the HOA for Sundance Active Adult to open that up and make it a drainage easement. Nothing happened for over a year. For a year, I sent letters to the HOA. I even had a meeting with Woody Scout and the town engineer downtown.
Okay.
Okay? We discussed this. Nothing happened. Not a trouble turn. For over a year. So I started walking it. Now, I'm from back east. I'm a New Yorker. I've lived in high density areas. New Yorkers take their access easements serious. Anybody from the back east, if you try to close an access easement that everybody uses, it isn't going to work. Except that the people.
Well, let me explain this to you. I'm not here for any kind of HOA violations, nothing like that.
You're here to hear the story.
Okay.
What
I'm
happened
here
between me and Charlie? First of all, Charlie wasn't the object yesterday. It was another board member that really I had.
Regardless, so Mr. Waters basically
is
he doesn't want.
the incident.
He just doesn't want you to keep harassing him.
Harassing him.
I understand if you're at a meeting and you have a question.
Okay.
That's a different story.
He
all right?
invited me in a meeting to speak.
Correct. I got that part.
This is my official.
But the thing is I'm asking you if you're making
I
contact
never
with
see
him.
outside. I never have contact.
So what I would recommend doing, as far as any kind of
contact
violations, as far as the HOA go, that's got nothing to do with us.
Well,
Okay?
the thing of it is, if he hadn't invited me to speak yesterday, this wouldn't have happened. The meeting would have ended. I was getting up to walk her out the room, and Charlie, because I had been there for 3 hours, I had invested.
Why don't you run for the board then?
Yeah,
If you don't like them.
I ran for the board.
It was getting very frustrating to talk to this young policeman. The young policeman had absolutely no first-hand knowledge of anything that transpired between Charlie Waters and myself. He didn't go to Charlie Waters. He wasn't assigned to go to Charlie Waters. You must understand, as nice and professional and everything as this young cop was trying to be, he had no knowledge. He didn't know what he was talking about. Somebody had told him that I had been harassing Charlie Waters, so he came over to me and starts giving me these lectures. Okay? It was getting frustrated. I thought I was doing pretty good on the delivery, but you're going to see as the conversation goes along, this young man doesn't want to hear anything about the HOA, and he's got some false witness that tells him that he believes that I attacked and I harassed Charlie Waters, and I didn't. Anybody that knows Charlie Waters, all I have to say is, you know him. Charlie Waters thinks that everybody in the HOA loves him. He's Mr. Sunshine. He goes up and talks to everybody. Well, I was in a store one night about 2 weeks before this incident, and about a week after the sign went in, closing track day, and he came up to me smiling, "Hi, how you doing?" And I wasn't smiling back. They had just put in that sign and took track day back out of service. They'd made it a privacy easement again after 3 years of being open to golf carts. So I wasn't in a very good mood, and I was starting to bring that up to Charlie, and the first thing Charlie, I got it, my wife, I got to, see you later, put it on paper, see you later. And he left. That's Charlie Waters. Everybody knows, okay? Everybody knows Charlie Waters, okay? Half the people that know him are dead right now. All his old golfing buddies aren't playing anymore. I don't see his old crew going through and him that went through 20 years ago. Where are they? All right? But anyway, this young policeman was, every time he said, well, you leave him alone, every time he said that, just wound me up more. All right? Just wound me up more. I've got this man, this policeman, who's probably not even 30 years old yet. I'm 68, he's 30, and he's pointing his finger at me, telling me to leave Charlie Waters alone. All right? My civil rights got trampled by the Buckeye Police Department. Trampled. Trampled. He should have never been sent to me until he talked to Charlie Waters. But Charlie Waters has got juice. I used to work in the casino. When you said a boss or somebody, one of the people, a supervisor had juice, when they had juice, that means they were all powerful. They could do anything they want. They had connections. They had juice. Well, let me tell you, to use a casino term with Charlie Waters, when Charlie Waters gives Jackie Mack $30,000 a year, and another thing I want to add is 3 months before this policeman was in my face, Charlie Waters had gotten Jackie Mack elected for the 3rd term as Jackie Mack's campaign manager. Charlie Waters was Jackie Mack's campaign manager about 3 or 4 months early when Jackie Mack got elected to his 3rd term. Not only does Charlie Waters give Jackie Mack's favorite charity sums of near $30,000 a year, he also got him re-elected as his campaign chairman. So I'm sure everybody in the Buckeye Police Department is going to give Charlie Waters as much immunity, latitude. They're not going to send a policeman out to his house. They're never going to put him on camera. They're never going to put him on camera and make him make a statement on camera. But they do it to me. And they did it to me from false witness. Charlie Waters called up and give him a line of bull because he doesn't want me in a meeting. I know as much or more than he does. He can't stand it. And plus, he's so friggin' jealous. The realtor, when I closed all 3 houses, told me how unpopular it was with everybody in Buckeye. I closed all 3 houses. I was on top of the world, and the first thing this guy did was stick a pin in my bubble and burst it. This will never happen again. What are you talking about? You buying 3 houses. From now on, 1 house, 1 person. And people, I feel like Charlie Waters and local people made sure that nobody ever comes in from California again and does this. I came in as a California buyer. The realtor told me this will never happen again. It was very unpopular. Nobody here liked this. In other words, what he was saying, they're so friggin' jealous of what you did. They can't stand it. They were penny wise and pound foolish years ago when they didn't put the money up for the lots. They had a chance to buy these lots a month before I ever saw them. A month and a half before I ever saw these lots, everybody in Buckeye, all your Midwest buyers, Buckeye buyers, had a chance to buy these lots. And none of them would come up with the money. None of them were going to pay the money it took. And I came down and took one look and I bought 3 lots. They're so jealous of me. They have so much contempt for me. Let's proceed and listen to this young man just give me lectures that he doesn't know what he is talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Has no clue. Second-hand, third-hand knowledge.
That's another thing. I ran for the board.
Why don't you have other people run too that you know?
Because everybody's drinking Kool-Aid here. This whole neighborhood is drinking Kool-Aid. They've got everybody in this neighborhood convinced that that's not an access easement.
Okay.
All right, it is. If you go down there, you want to walk down and see what Charlie
That's got
Waters...
nothing to do with why I'm here.
It does. It does. Charlie Waters now does not want me in a meeting. I didn't have an argument with Charlie. I said one thing to Charlie.
All he wants you to do is just leave him alone.
I
That's
do.
all he wants.
He came up to me...
How's he know that that's all he wants? He's putting Charlie Waters' words. He's taken a complaint from Charlie Waters on harassment, and now he's telling me that Charlie Waters has told him that all he wants is me to leave him alone. How ridiculous. Can you imagine the comic opera this is? This is Buckeye Police Department.
Just walk away.
He came up and he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, because I was in a meeting. I was at a meeting a month ago, and he had a microphone walking through the crowd. And he was busy, and I said to him, he came over with the mic for me to, I said, Charlie, I don't want to even, I'm not allowed to talk in meetings. I've been kicked out of 3 meetings. Every time I go to a meeting and start talking about track day, I'm immediately kicked out of the meeting. I've had 3 houses here. I've been here 12 years. Haven't missed a dues payment. I'm a dues paying member of the community, and when I go into the meetings, I'm not allowed to talk. Now, yesterday when Charlie invited me to explain the situation where 6 weeks after I got an approval to put on gutters, a guy that didn't make the meeting that day was able to go in a month later, after speaking to me and seeing that my gutters weren't the same color, he goes in. And 2 weeks before Christmas, I want to get this on record, 2 weeks before Christmas, the last official duty that the Architectural Committee did was to rescind my legal document, my approval on the orders of Chuck Milosevic. Chuck Milosevic went into the next meeting and said, his gutters, whether you approved them or not, are the wrong color. You sent him a letter. So, while they went on, now I go on the website and I get a sign off from the Architectural Committee. We're out of town for 6 weeks. This was our last meeting on the 10th. All right, because of the holiday, we're not going to be here. You know what their last official business was on the 10th? To send me a letter giving me 2 weeks to repaint my gutters that I'd already had approval on.
Okay, but that's not.
Okay. I used to work in the casinos. Okay. The people who run casinos don't have a Christmas spirit, and neither do the people in Sundance Active Adult. I've seen this trick pulled by white supremacists in the West so many times when I was in the casino business. I worked as a dealer in the casinos for about 4 years on and off. And every Christmas, the old timers in the casino would walk around in a crouch, ducking, because they knew it was coming. That's when they clear the books. That's when they get even with people, is at Christmas. They did that to my girlfriend. She worked in another casino. It was a small time casino. It wasn't on the main strip. It was kind of off. It was run by a family. They more or less did whatever they wanted to do. Well, she was a good-looking, tall blonde, and she had about 6 months working in this casino. And she was making good money. She was a good dealer. It wasn't her first Casino 21 dealer job. It was about her third job. She was good looking. For about 6 months, everybody in the casino, all the bosses, tried to take her out. She makes good money. She's making good tips. They figure, you're making good tips here. You're walking out of here every night with buku money. You should be willing to date some of the bosses. Well, she told them, I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested in dating any of you. She might have got a little uppity. That's what they considered, especially the short people. The short men. The short men that want to date a tall woman, they have that short man's complex. Well, that short man complex, I'll tell you what happened to her on Christmas Eve. We both have to work on Christmas Eve. The casino is like the airline business. You want to talk about damaged goods? I've told you before, I work in the airlines. I haven't had much social life. I've always worked graveyard and weekends. Graveyard and weekends. Almost all my career. Well, she went into work on graveyard on Christmas Eve. She went to her casino after spending 2 hours fixing her hair and makeup so that when she hits that pit, she looks like $1 million. All right? What happened to her? I went to work, to my casino. I was at work about a half an hour, 45 minutes, and she came up to me crying. What happened? They fired me. What? They fired me. What do you mean, how? She says, I was walking into the pit, and this little pit boss, who's been asking me out for months, came up to me and said, "Didn't anybody tell you?" "Tell me what?" "You don't work here anymore. Go over to the cage and get your last paycheck. See you later." And that's not the first story. They did that in my casino too. They got rid of one of the girls in my casino. If you're a person in a casino and you do something, turn down a guy for a date, or you speak up in a meeting, or you're the first one to speak up whenever they come up with a rule change, or anything like that, you become the spokesperson for the crew, they let you go. And on Christmas Eve, after you spent money all month, like my girlfriend, that's what they do. They let you spend money all month of December, buying presents and stuff, and that you don't know that you're going to be fired at Christmas. Well, they did the same thing here. Chuck Milosevic came over. He kept staring at my gutters. And finally, like I said, I pissed him off. When I told him, I said, "I can't believe you're worrying about my gutters when that access easement is so grossly out of compliance." Well, that tipped him off. So what did he do? He went in and he says, "Send him a letter." I got that letter around the 12th of December, after spending 6 weeks on my hands and knees routing 2 gutter spouts to the street with plumbing, had to go under the sidewalk. My neighbors out here every day watching me. I'm dirt, mud from head to toe, right? Shoveling, digging, trying to get these gutters to work so the water gets to the street. And I haven't done any shopping. I haven't done anything. My nose has been to the grindstone trying to get this gutter installed that I got approved on. Caroline approved both houses, my color scheme, only to have Chuck walk in and the rest of the board said, "Perfect opportunity. Send him a letter. Send him a letter. Let's ruin his Christmas." That's what these white supremacists out here, the white Trump heads. The white Trump heads. This is Trump before Trump. All right? We're going to ruin his Christmas. He's got 2 weeks to paint these while we go on vacation. And if he doesn't have them painted, we're going to send him a fine. He isn't going to be shopping for his family. He's got a fine come looking at him. He's got 2 weeks to get this done at Christmas. And then they send an email out that we're not going to have another meeting for 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm dealing with this young policeman who's talking out his ass. He's telling me things that it's like Charlie Waters told me this just a few minutes ago. Charlie Waters didn't even have any contact with him. I'm sorry if I get a little off about this, but I happen to be a baby boomer. I happen to be a Vietnam era veteran that spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I'm sick of dealing with West Coast idiots. I'm sick of dealing with Trump heads. I'm sick of dealing with election deniers. All right? I'm sick of it. You white people are evil. Makes me ashamed to be white, but I'm not white. I'm Caucasian. There's a huge difference. These people are Mississippi white. They're Alabama white. They're Ku Klux Klan white. That's what I'm dealing with out here, the Klan. Charlie Waters has got juice. This kid is talking out his ass. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's like the golfers playing over his head. He didn't know what he was talking about. And you're going to watch how he got smart-mouthed with me. It'll be an example of what I go through every time I go in and try to talk to the HOA or talk to Carolyn or any manager. They've got a couple of 2 or 3 girls that work in that, and when you want to have a conversation with somebody, those 2 witnesses, extra people, are there, and they start challenging. I'll break it up when that happens, when we get out here.
Why I'm here.
Well, that's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Listen,
That's why
you
this
is-
story. Now, I was trying to tell this story to Charlie yesterday, and the guy that sent me the letter kept interrupting me. Every time I got to the point where I
That's
said,
the same thing you're doing to me, is interrupting me.
Here we go. I'm interrupting him. He comes up to me, giving me a cock and bull story, like he had just talked to Charlie Waters, and he hasn't. He doesn't even know Charlie Waters. I don't even think he's ever met him. He's probably don't even. If you put Charlie Waters in front of him, he wouldn't even recognize who he was. This kid is playing over his head. His supervisors, this guy Ali that sent him out here, the policeman Ali, he's just as at fault as this kid. All right? They trampled my civil rights. They had no right to be there until they talked to Charlie Waters. All right? This is planned activity in Buckeye. Buckeye to me is the emotional center, the psychological center, the cult center of the KKK in Arizona. They're outside any jurisdiction. They're outside of Maricopa County flood control jurisdiction, everything else. You have to deal with the Buckeye Police, the Buckeye Civil Engineering, and there's no oversight. They can do whatever they want. And right now, this kid is trampling my civil rights with his bullshit.
well, you want the story. Well,
I just told you I don't.
You're telling me to stay away from somebody that I have absolutely no contact
Listen,
with.
he's just
except
saying
when I
that
go there.
you and him have some kind of issue, okay? Whatever that issue is, just leave him alone. He's going to be told the same thing to leave you alone, okay? As far as the HOA meetings go, if you do come to the HO meetings, just be professional about it.
I was.
Oh,
He's talking about professional. Be professional about it. How about you being professional there, young policeman? How about you being professional? Do a professional policeman's investigation and go talk to Charlie Waters. Don't spout to me about being professional. What?
I was explaining.
So if there's something that's asked, if you have a question, you know, I don't know how they do it. I know some HOAs, they have you raise your hand, and then when they call on you, then you speak. There's other ways to go about it. You can run for a board member yourself.
I already did
You know, try to get.
Can you understand the hollow advice this kid has given to me? I don't even think this kid is 30 years old, and he's sitting here postulating on what I should be doing with my HOA. He hasn't got a clue. He's ad-libbing out here. They go out and ad-lib. Go out and feed Mr. LaShawn a line of shit so that we can kick him out of the HOA. So we can kick him out of the HOA. Watch. Continue. I'll show you here in a few minutes. We're going to get to the point where
Get somebody else to run with you, or try to, endorse somebody else.
I really understand what you're trying to get across to me. It's all moot, okay? I'm 68 years old. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, okay? I was right at the top as far as working in the air wing. I was an avionics specialist. I worked on the radar for the F-4J. I've had more education in technical school. I also worked for United Airlines, retired.
In other words, I've forgotten more than this kid knows. I've forgotten more than this kid knows. All right? And I got this punk kid, and I consider him a punk. All right? To walk up here, I know he had orders to do it, but he's ad-libbing. He's ad-libbing. He's filling in. It's just like being on a show or something. They tell him, hey, string it. He's stringing me with bullshit. I'm getting strung with propaganda bullshit. I can't help it but get mad, angry at this.
from them. I worked for US Air and retired from them. I've never been arrested before until I got arrested doing civil disobedience.
Okay.
When the town engineer wrote that up and ordered them to dig it out, they never dug it out. The first thing Charlie Waters did was go and give the mayor $30,000. There. And the mayor went into Public Works and said, put that on the back burner. We don't care if he's got a plat map. This is Buckeye. This is Buckeye. A plat map does not carry any jurisdiction out here in Buckeye. And that's what I'm going through. And when I go to talk to Charlie, and Charlie has a way of talking to you, what he does is he dismisses it. He goes, put it on paper, and he turns it, put it on a form, and he turns it around. I'm being harassed. Do you see anything on my lot here that you would consider grossly out of compliance? I've got 3 letters charged against me right now.
Okay.
2 weeks ago or a month ago, I've got an hour and 47-minute video of a policeman doing exactly what you're doing. That guy in that White House came here from Nebraska. He hasn't been here all summer. All summer long, that easement has been used by people walking their dogs and golf course people. He's a snoper. He came in here a month ago on his first day back from being away all summer, and he put 2 rusty rods in the middle of the access easement. You know why? Because for 10 years, he illegally had that property all to himself. And now the HOA is going with the same story. He had it for 10 years all himself, but it was illegal. I got a letter here saying it was illegal to dig it out, and he never dug it out.
Here's the thing, sir. What I'm saying is...
The thing of it is, I'm trying to give you a background between me and Charlie. I don't care about Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie walks
Just
by
like
my
I said,
house every morning. He's in charge of the golf course.
Just ignore him. If you see him, ignore him. He was told the same thing.
I don't go to the clubhouse. I don't.
Well, then how do you know he walks by here all the time?
He plays golf. I live on a... Come here.
Okay.
Please, come on.
Well, what I'm saying is...
Now, do you see how I'm going to extra lengths to try to explain to this policeman? I'm doing everything but spit gold coins at this policeman to make him understand what's going on between me and the HOA, and he refuses to listen. All he does is keep saying, you're saying Charlie Waters wants this, Charlie Waters wants that. Just like I just talked to him, I know exactly what's going on. He didn't. He's a moron. Okay, thank you very much to the Buckeye Police Department putting me on film. I'm answering a ghost. I have to answer and listen to this policeman tell me about this ghost that he's got in his head. That I said this and I said that. He doesn't even have first-hand knowledge.
You're here to hear the story. You're here to try to resolve an issue between me and Charlie. There is no issue between me and Charlie. I don't go actively looking for him.
Okay.
But the thing of it is, the guy in the room
So
yesterday...
do me a favor.
The guy that...
I'm right next to you, so you don't have to yell.
All right. You're going to hear, he's about to say that this is high-tech equipment. I'll tell you, the fella that put the injunction on me, and we're going to make a video out of that pretty soon. The guy that put an injunction on me because I was, I had an injunction. I was taking video of him stealing golf balls out of the lake, poaching golf balls out of the lake every morning. And when the policeman went into them, the guy in the police lab or the policeman had a camera that when this guy was talking and the policeman was in there with his camera, I could hardly hear what they were saying. I could hardly hear. And when I went and got that video months before this video was shot, I said to myself, from now on, anybody that puts me on a video and a policeman comes here with a video, I'm going to talk as loud as I can because I've got a video of a policeman interviewing my neighbor that put an injunction on me, and I could hardly hear what he was saying. And he was standing right next to the policeman. And you're going to hear this guy tell me now how great the recording devices are, and I don't have to talk loud.
I want to make sure they get it on the video.
It's a very high quality system, so.
Policeman over there, and I know that I'm going to record. I'm going to let you know what happened. Okay? Charlie Waters, I see him go by every day.
Okay.
Okay? He goes by every day because he's a golfer.
Okay.
You know what I deal with on a day-to-day basis here?
Do tell.
You see where that tee box is?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got children in the family that like to come over and water my plants.
Okay.
They like to walk around here with a watering can, water my plants.
Okay.
What do you think I think about when I see a gorilla over there on the tee that's never swung a golf club before? Somebody your size. Somebody like you that's never played golf court before, and he's right there.
How do you know I've never played golf?
Well,
Okay, how do you know I never played golf? You see that is what happens whenever you go in to the that's a perfect example of these smart aleck kids. And that's the girls when you go into the HOA. You're in there trying to earnestly, honestly make a point, a grievance against something that they don't want to hear. And that's the kind of response. You got these little minions that support the manager, and they start cross-examining you, just like he did. How do you know I don't play golf? Why do you have to say that? I'm trying to make a point, but he's going to play chess with me verbally, okay? Verbal basketball. I'm sick of it.
well, if you have, you have. But I'm saying I can tell a new golfer.
Okay.
All right? And you've got new golfers here day in, day out. The reason I got arrested is because a golfer crossed my line. I came out and I assisted him off my property. When I did, I fell down.
Okay.
When he saw that I was fall down and compromised, he charged back onto my property, swung to my head.
Okay.
Okay? That's why they had cause to arrest me. Now, you know anything about civil law? Because nobody in Arizona does. Okay? Like I said, I'm an East Coaster. For you to close that access easement to everybody that lives in this parcel, and Charlie Waters is behind it.
And once again, you're totally going around what I'm trying to
You're
say.
totally missing the point. The whole
I think
deception,
you're
the
trying
whole
to miss the
total, the
point.
charge. No, Charlie.
What's his point? His point is to tell me something that he never heard from Charlie Waters. He's never talked to Charlie Waters. I don't even think he knows what he looks like. Probably never ever had anything to do with him, but he's been told by his superior, Charlie is the mayor's good friend. Go out and lean on this guy, educate him. And this kid comes out and he's empty. He's got nothing in the tank. He's got no paperwork from a judge. He's got no statement from Charlie Waters. You know how frustrating it was to go in and get this video? I get the video and I'm hoping to have something with Charlie Waters on it, talking to him. No way. I'm fighting ghosts here. Go out and put him on camera. Put him on the spot. Start accusing him of stuff. He's a hothead. We'll get him talking. And if he talks enough, we'll find out everything he knows. But we're going to use this policeman to go out and harass him over something that he has no clue what took place. It's all hearsay. The Buckeye Police Department, one of the most corrupt police departments in the friggin' state.
All I'm telling you is he just wants you to know that
all right, there.
he
Wait, all right,
doesn't
here's
want...
what-
Yeah, you hear him? He wants you to know. Did you talk to him? He didn't talk to Charlie. How's he know that? How's he know that? Charlie made a report, and the officer knew I can't send this young cadet over to Charlie's house. If I send this young policeman that's talking to Mr. LaShawn right now, if I send him to Charlie Waters' house on a Saturday morning, I won't have a job again. I don't have to worry about working for the Buckeye Police Department if I ever send a policeman out and put Charlie Waters on camera.
You to start anything with him.
Here's what came up in a meeting, okay? Charlie Waters came up with this in a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm going to tie all this in. Charlie Waters said, they said, well, what if people don't pay their fines? The whole meeting was about the fine process. How do we fine? When do we fine? How many notices before we fine? And Charlie Waters said, well, finally, he said, what we'll finally do, our final act before we go to the lawyers, is we're going to take away their privilege to use the clubhouse or participate. We're going to take their membership away to use the clubhouse and all the facilities here. That's how we're going to get to them.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened. About a week later, I get a letter from Caroline Clinton telling me that I was combative, I was out of line, and that I'm kicked out, that my key card has been pulled. I'm kicked out of the HOA. Just like Charlie said. Charlie, it's like watching Donald Trump. It was like watching Donald Trump. Charlie's in there waving his arms, making decisions, making calls, doing this, doing that. Nobody's challenging him. Like he says, we'll just kick him out. Excuse me, I think there's some HOA law that you just can't kick somebody out without a hearing, without a process. But we're in Buckeye. Not only do they not have to respect civil engineering and respect civil rights of the people who pay dues here, but we don't have to go through giving you a hearing. Charlie Waters is a board member. When you're a board member and you take on that responsibility and you ask people to vote for you and to make you board member, to give you that authority, you have to let people talk to you. All right? You can't get thin-skinned once you take that board member's position. And the reason they never put Charlie Waters on a camera is if Charlie Waters would have said to them on camera, the police had to come and take him out of a board meeting. And if Charlie Waters started embellishing too much on camera and I had a recording of it, I could get him for defamation. They've already defamed me. All right? They sent this young policeman out to me who doesn't have a clue about anything about the case. Like I said, he's got no court papers. He's got nothing on him except arrogance. Useful arrogance. Useful ignorance. Okay? He doesn't know what he's doing, and the person that sent him out here should have sent him to Charlie Waters. But he knew if I send them out to Charlie, if I send this policeman out to the mayor's campaign manager and money man, the money man for the mayor and the campaign manager, I won't have a job.
Well, I don't use that clubhouse. I never have. When I bought these houses 12 years ago, the realtor told me, he said they were very unpopular. When you bought these houses, everybody disliked it. Everybody here disliked the fact that you as a single person tied up 3 of the best lots on the course. They treat you like you're a glutton. Nobody in Buckeye was going to buy them because they were priced too high. But they resent the fact that you came from California and bought all 3 of these lots all for yourself. We didn't like it, and nobody in Buckeye liked it.
Jealousy. 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 Human factors. That HOA, the people who work there, the manager, the board's lawyer, who's a collection agent, they're so jealous of what I've been able to do. I've held, I'm still here after 19 years. And I'm probably maybe one of the only people in my whole parcel who doesn't believe that Trump is president. I'm probably one of the only people in my parcel who voted for Biden. And I'm going to vote for him again. And I have to think about getting ready for a civil war because I think all the idiots in the West Valley, and all the spores that come off them, out here in Dixieland, the planet of the apes. We had a term when I was working on airplanes. We called people apes. The ape in aircraft maintenance is the person who will do things on their own, without paperwork. They redesign things. Whatever the engineer designs, they know how to do it better. They do not follow procedure. They pride themselves in not following procedure. We called them apes, the 10% apes, mechanics that didn't want to do things the right way. That's why I say, I live in the planet of the apes. That's what Buckeye is. This is the planet of the apes. This is Dixieland. This is the set of Hee-Haw. Okay? They didn't, the Dukes of Hazzard. That's another thing. I've never seen so many correct Confederate flags in my life as in the last 6 or 7 years. They are everywhere. Confederate flags representing slavery. Okay? It all got started with the Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard. That whole group of people that grew up with the Dukes of Hazzard, when it first came on, they were 8 years old and they watched it for 5 or 6 years. What they did was normalize the stars and bars, the Confederate flag. Everybody grew up loving the Confederate flag. Now it's everywhere. They even fly it in this neighborhood sometimes. It makes me want to puke. Makes me want to puke to see the Confederate flag flying. Especially in the Capitol building.
Okay.
All right, that's my first thing. Now, 3 weeks later, after closing all 3 houses, Charlie Waters was told to me it was him. He won't admit it because Charlie Waters won't admit anything. Charlie Waters came over to my house while I was in the shower, and I had a nephew that was staying with me for a week. I came down to open up the house for a week. All right, I was on vacation. This was 3 weeks after I closed the house. Charlie Waters came up to the front door as a representative of the Men's Association. And he asked for me, and this 17-year-old kid answered the door. My nephew from New York. He came out here so he could go to LTI, what's that? Institute, that car place where they teach you how to, anyway. The kid wanted to go through the campus. I said, I'm going to be out there, I'm going to open the house up for a week. You can come down, I'll take you to campus if you help me open up the house. I had to get shutters. I had to get garage door openers. I had to get microwaves, stuff like this. While I was taking a shower, somebody, and I've been told it was Charlie Waters. He won't admit it because he was the president of the men's club. This is 12 years ago when nobody was here. He was the president of the men's club. He came here to invite me to join the men's club. The house was empty. We'd only been here 2 days. When I closed the house was empty. I went back to San Francisco. 3 weeks later, I come down. Now I got to get everything, the garage doors, the this, the that. And the kid's helping me. While I'm taking a shower, Charlie answers the door and hands the kid a thing saying, here, ask your uncle if he wants to join the men's club. Meanwhile, and the reason Charlie was here, he was prospecting for non-compliant. You see, right over there was the sales office. So when they saw people out here, the first thing Charlie did was get a handful of forms, beat feet over here, and knock on my door looking for non-compliance. When the kid answered the door, he's 17 years old, and the first 2 pieces of furniture I bought before leaving for San Francisco after closing the house was two futons. They were in the front room. So when Charlie knocked on the door and he sees this kid and he looks over his shoulder and sees 2 futons, he goes back and tells the manager to write me up
send him a letter for having kids. He's got 3 kids living in his house underage. This place wasn't even built out. This was 12 years ago. This is what Charlie Waters did to me. This why.
What I recommend doing is just ignore the guy.
I'm letting you know. Charlie Waters.
Well, unfortunately, sir, I can't listen to your story.
I'm
not here to arrest you, okay?
You got the story.
So all I'm trying to do is make sure that you stay away from him, and he knows to stay away from you.
Wait a minute. Charlie Waters invited me to speak.
Don't you see how frustrating? The only line this kid has got, the only thing he can say. I've blown him away with that story. All right, I had a machine gun delivery. I've told that story over and over and over and over again. I've got it down pat. He didn't know what to say except, Charlie wants you to leave him alone. What a bunch of...
Okay.
I spoke, and when I was trying to speak, this man had run the acquisition. He didn't want the story to come out. He didn't want the story to come out where they rescinded my gutters after 6 weeks. They let me spend $3,000 in 6 weeks of time.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a civil issue anyway, so...
Send me, so that when I was trying to tell the story to Charlie yesterday, the guy in charge of the architectural committee that generated that letter last year at Christmas time didn't want to hear the story. He didn't want Charlie to hear the story. So
I'm not here about any kind of architectural
well, you got
problem
the story,
or
all
any
right?
kind
I don't
of
know where
HOA.
you're from. Where are you from?
I'm from Europe.
You're from...
Do you hear that? From Europe. Our manager's from Europe. I think they bring these Europeans over to run the colony. Like in the old days, the revolutionary. We're not going to let any Americans run the colony. We're going to let Europeans. I don't know how they do civil rights in Europe, but this little European policeman who's walking around in a Buckeye Police Department doesn't understand civil rights. Okay? From Europe. I got a European policeman and a European manager, HOA manager. She's given false witness. I don't know where Charlie's from. He might be from Europe too, right? I got a European policeman over here giving me all this shit. And I'm an American, born and raised. I know better. I grew up in New York, upstate New York. I've been around the cities. I've lived in a lot of cities. I know what urban living is. This isn't urban living. This is Bush League, redneck, Dixieland. We're not going to open up that easement and bother anybody. They had it fair and square. We stole it fair and square. All we have to do is get rid of you, and we'll get to keep it stolen fair and square forever. What reason I went to that meeting was that sign under this tree right here was about 3 weeks old. This easement was open for 3 years to golf carts. And about 3 weeks, 2 weeks after they put that sign in and rocks so nobody could drive their golf cart in, that's when I got active and went to the meeting. I wanted to find discovery. You ever heard of the thing discovery? I was hoping to go and listen and see if I could find out discovery. How did they come up with the decision to close that access easement after it was open to golf carts for 3 years? They never sent out a letter. They never did a vote. They never informed anybody about it. Nothing. They just came in one day and put a sign in there and said, although it's been open to golf carts for 3 years, it isn't going to be open anymore. All right? We stole it fair and square. You didn't replace us. It's the replacement theory. I'm living in a culture out here of people that don't want to be replaced. You're not going to replace us.
You ever live in a high-density place?
I have.
All right, where people rub elbows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we happen to be living in a neighborhood where they understood when they bought in that everything is common area. Mm-hmm. Everybody that bought here is common area.
If it's a common area, it's tax-free. If it's a common area, we all have access to it. Now, I want you to do one more thing before you leave. Is walk down to the corner so I can explain to you what Charlie Waters did.
I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that. Just stay away from him, all right? Don't talk to him.
Roy Rogers, Matt Dillon, Wyatt Earp. Just stay away from him. Just stay away from him.
You to tell me to stay away from Charlie. Unless I go to the clubhouse, I never see him.
Well, like I said,
the reason,
try to avoid him.
The reason this started
You know what I'm saying? If
yesterday
you
is
see
he
him, just
invited me.
do your thing.
He invited me, and when I started telling the story, the other board member didn't want that story to come out. So he kept
You gotta
challenging
understand
me.
that there's
And
a lot of
degraded
people
and it
when it
degraded
comes
and
to
it degraded.
like HOA meetings.
Yeah. Well,
So they're not gonna all do is disagree.
well, you've said your piece. I'm never going to talk to Charlie Waters. And the thing
But
of
that's
it
all.
is-
That's all he wants, and we've told him the same
Yeah,
thing.
but I have a right to
Hold on,
talk to
hold
him.
on.
Oh, we've told him the same thing. We've told Charlie the same thing. When did you tell him the same thing? When? When did you tell him the same thing? You don't even know what he looks like. You don't even know who he is. You never went and talked to him. You're ad-libbing. You're stringing me with bullshit.
Charlie
And that's the
Waters
same
is
thing
a
we told
public
him.
official.
We're like, hey, if
He's
you know,
a
you
public
see him,
official.
don't make any contact with him either.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me now, as a member of dues pay, then I can quit paying dues? Then?
No, what I'm telling you
No,
is he's
a
saying
member.
you're harassing him.
No, I'm not harassing him. I
Sir,
ask him
I'm done
questions.
arguing with you.
No, I ask him questions. I've been
Have a good
very
day, sir.
direct and honest with you, and I haven't threatened you once. That's the way I deal with people. And Charlie Waters has problems with it.
All right, sir.
He doesn't want anybody talking to
Like
him
I said,
that.
just
because you
let
don't
it be.
go like this to Charlie
all right.
Waters.
Have a good
you
day,
don't
sir.
like it.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Goodness gracious.
Okay. You see what went on, right? Charlie Waters has been my nemesis since I got here. He was responsible for the first letter that went into my file. I called up Star Below, whatever you want to call her. I called her up. When I got back to San Francisco, when my nephew went back to New York after being here a week, and he got accepted to the school, he's done very well by it. I'm very proud of him. But when he went home and I went back to San Francisco, I called Star Baloo for something, and before we ended our conversation, she said to me, would you stay on the line? I have something to discuss with you. Sure. She came back, she goes, we had to put a letter in your file. For what? Well, you had 3 kids living in your house. We put a letter in the file because you had 3 underage kids living in your house and you never reported it. I was only there about no more than a week. That was my nephew from New York. There was only one man in the house with me. International Automotive Technical course. It's over there in by Highway 99 off Avondale Boulevard. Okay? I'll think of the name. But he graduated from the school. But when Star Bello told me I had to put a letter in file for 3 kids living in your house, the next time I got down here on the plane, which I was coming down about every week, I'd get off work, jump on a plane, fly down here. I was working 4 10-hour days. I'd spend the weekend here. So I went into her office, and I had just had a week of human factors training at United Airlines. I had just completed a week of human factors training. 8 hours a day. And we talked about jealousy, envy, dishonesty, everything about what humans do to other humans in certain situations. All right? And it got so bad at United. This was around affirmative action. There wasn't a day, hardly for about 5 years at United, that you didn't have a reading sign at least every 2 days. They kept a book. And what it was, a letter from the lawyers. You have to read this letter and sign that you understand what you read. And it was about sexual harassment, all kinds of harassment. The lawyers were being sued so much at United by women, minorities, and being it was San Francisco, their judge, their legal system, their judiciary is very liberal. All right? Not like Buckeye. And they were losing cases. So every time they lost a case, they put out a letter, the lawyers put out a letter, put this throughout the entire 90,000 employees. This will not be accepted. This is the definition of sexual harassment. This is the definition. Now that you've been told and it's been defined to you, sign here, you're responsible. Well, it got so bad, there were so many lawsuits that United says, and the maintenance was suffering from this. We had to take, with affirmative action, aircraft maintenance before affirmative action really took hold was a man's world. When you walked into a hangar, every toolbox had pinups, pictures of naked women. Guy have a picture of his family, and next to it be the Playboy centerfold. Next to his family. Every toolbox. By the end of affirmative action around 1994, 1995, you couldn't find a naked picture on any toolbox in any hangar in United's inventory. Lawsuits. Women were offended. We had to hire, they were required to hire women mechanics. They were required to hire women pilots. Every job skill at United had to be, if she was qualified, you had to hire her. And it caused all kinds of problems because these women were walking into an environment of naked pictures everywhere. And they didn't like it. They felt exploited. We had one girl that she would wait outside the men's locker room at night until she knew that nobody went in or went out for about an hour, and then she'd go into the men's locker room looking for pinup pictures, nude pictures, so that she could report it. That's why they had to start a human factors class. It got so bad, they had to lay some ground rules. And one thing in that human factors class, what they came out with is a company rule. There will be no more complaints that are anonymous. From now on, when you say something, you make a complaint, a discrepancy against another mechanic, like for sexual harassment or anything like that, it's not going to be anonymous. You're going to have to step up to the line and publicly accuse this person. So that's what I just went through about a few months before Star told me on the phone, or when I went and talked to her, she says, I went in and I said, Star, who made this complaint? She goes, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I go, Star, he told you a lie. He said I had 3 kids living in my house. I had one young man there in the house. I gave her the whole story. He got a week off from school to go to this automotive school out here, and he got accepted. He got grants. He graduated from it. He went through the whole course. Now, please tell me who did this. I had just come from United Airlines, where United
told everybody to keep the peace here and to keep the rules straight and to make it fair, there's going to be no more anonymous complaints. And here I am in Dixieland, in the heart of Dixie, the planet of the apes, the set of hee-haw, and I've got this lady telling me, we don't have to tell you who he is. And I said, why aren't you going to tell me? And she goes, because he's a businessman. He's more or less, he's too important to reveal. He's too important to reveal or tell you who he is. Why? Because he's our number one draft choice. He's our franchise player. Sooner or later, we're going to put somebody on the board when we sell enough houses, and he's it. He's going to be our number one guy on the board. And I know all this. I've talked to people that played golf with Charlie, that were intimately golf friends with him. I played golf with him, and when I asked them, who do you think did that? Who do you think sent that letter? Who do you think ratted on me? And everybody would go, it's Charlie. It's Charlie. Half of them are dead right now. But they all agreed Charlie ran the place. It was his baby. And she wasn't going to tell me. And now he did exactly what he said in the meeting about people who don't pay dues. We're going to take care of his privileges. So now they take this video back to City Hall, and Jackie Mack, Charlie Waters, Craig Eustace, all of them have available this video of me going off on this young policeman, and they've all decided he knows too much. He knows the whole story. We got to keep him out of, we can't allow him to mix with the membership under our roof. And that's when a week later, I get a letter from Caroline saying, you're kicked out of the HOA. You're kicked out of the HOA. We pulled your key card. You know too much. You're a blabbermouth. You're a whistleblower. The sooner we can get you in our rearview window, the better. And now I'm being sued by the HOA, and I've got a $60,000 lien against my house from the planet of the apes. Thank you for listening. I get a little heated, but when I think of the gang raping I took here in Buckeye, from the civil engineers, from the HOA and the police department, they really said to me, you're a Yankee carpetbagger. We don't like you. We don't like Yankee carpetbaggers in Dixieland. As far as I'm concerned, you're all wearing
hoods. You're all hiding behind your white hoods. Nobody will come forward and say, yeah, we screwed you. We screwed your property up. We stole tract A. And we kicked you out of the HOA on false witness. You know too much. You got a blabbermouth. You're a whistleblower. If you're still with me, thank you for listening. I'll get out of this.